Hey everyone, it's Jeanette Johnson with Century 21 Connect Realty.
And as always, Isaiah Lyles with Primerica Financial Services.
And welcome back to Mind Your Business Show.
We're back in the mind, back in the mind.
Back in the mind. Okay, so we had a bit of a brain fart this week. And we contemplated a lot of things to talk about, but we really could not get past some of the personal sides to us. You know what I mean? Some of the things that make us us.
Yeah.
And, struggles that we've personally been through to really even get in a position to start a podcast, get in front of you guys, talk to you. So it was really important that we touched on that this week and talked about personal development and pretty much what has helped us, guide our minds, like the key steps to getting your mind right. And that's just for life, but more so getting you personally developed for starting businesses, confidence to, become a homeowner, and getting yourself financially free. So that's definitely something we got to touch on this week.
Yeah, it's a major step when it comes down to just fortifying your mind and just strengthening yourself, because a lot of things are really difficult to overcome, and there's going to be obstacles when it comes down to doing all the things that you just mentioned. So really feel like personal development has been, well, I know I personally feel like personal development and just kind of really strengthening myself in a mental way has been so critical in my life, so crucial.
Like top key factor to really anything.
Right.
Well, for you, let's talk about it, because you said it's been a very critical, piece for you. Elaborate on that further. Like, what do you feel started that journey for you?
Okay. What started that journey was honestly getting into being an entrepreneur. I know we talked about that as like me starting to branch out into the entrepreneur field in 2014. But also, it's funny that we were just talking about this earlier on the way here, because I started my journey in 2014, and we drove past that spot where my car accident was.
Yeah.
All of that in that story is literally simultaneously.
Yeah, well, tell us about the story. Tell us what that means to you. Or you don't have to get into all the details if you don't want to, but touch on it just for everybody to kind of make sense of what you're feeling.
Okay, so as we explained, I started my entrepreneur journey in 2014, and it was a journey about starting with a company. It was network marketing, and of course, that's talking to people and being able to communicate, doing presentations, all sorts of things to really further yourself.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, around that time, I got into a really bad car accident and almost lost my life. But one thing I didn't lose my life, apparently, but one thing I did lose was my tongue. I lost my tongue in that car accident, so it had to be sewn on, surgically reattached. And yeah, as I just mentioned, it was a business where you have to talk to people and really do presentations, and it's really difficult to talk without a tongue. So that really put a lot of that to a halt, or like a screeching halt. And it took a mental toll on me, just not being able to communicate in certain type of ways. So I had to really strengthen my mind to be able to get me past that mental hurdle, because it's like, okay, I was running a business, I'm getting this residual income, it's the first time, and now I have this major setback that says, okay, now you kind of sort of can't really do this. So strengthening my mentality was so critical, and it started with honestly reading books.
Yeah.
Reading books and audios and motivational speeches.
So did you just, say, okay, well, I can't speak to people, so the best thing for me to do is to pick up a book and read it? Or were you seeking out some sort of advice from maybe a mentor or somebody you found to be reputable that said, start reading some books? What was that path for you?
That's a good question. Man, that was so long ago. How did I get onto it? I think it was just a matter of picking up a book, because I grew up a reader. And I was a major.
So you were a reader.
I've always been a reader, like
Yeah.
growing up and back in elementary school, middle school, high school, just always reading different things. But this was a chance for me to like dive back into it. And of course, I was in college at the time as well, on my summer vacation. But it was a time for me to say, okay, I want to read something that's going to strengthen my mindset.
Yeah.
Really change and really, because I was in a position of wanting to change already. That's why I was becoming an entrepreneur. But in having to take that step back, it was like, okay, sometimes life sits you down for a reason.
Yeah.
Life slows you down for a reason.
Right.
So, and I took that opportunity to
Took it as a sign.
took it as a sign, right?
Yeah.
Because I got into motivational speeches and reading motivational books. I switched it from the fiction to the more non-fictional self-help type of content instead of what I was consuming first.
Okay.
So I was first listening to people like Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, of course Art Williams. Well, that came a lot later in life with Art Williams, and that was super key to my life
Because that's
now.
when you heavily got into the business, when you started tapping into Art Williams.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, so I think I started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes.
And I think we was just saying that's like the starting point of a lot of people's personal development journey.
See, that was
Have
on
you
the
read
top
that?
of my, of course. Yeah, that was on the top of my list as a choice read because kind of segueing from the question I gave you, I'm not a reader. And even when I wanted to be a reader, I wasn't reading books all the way. So I was like trying to be a reader, but not actively being a reader. And I had a life-threatening situation happened that made me want to change my life around. But I had always wanted to take a little bit more control of my life versus letting life just take me. So one of the
That's
ways
the
I
truth.
did that was, one of the ways I was doing that was saying, okay, what are other people doing to become more mentally strong? And
Right.
a lot of that advice was pick up some books. So one of the books that obviously we both read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and everybody always talks about it. And it was just one of those books where people were like, you've got to read it. You've got to read it. And I'm like, why? Why do I have to read it? I mean, what is it going to do? Make me rich? Like, come on, what is it going to do?
It starts the path.
But it really does trigger the path of you wanting to think a little bit deeper into how you control your life financially for sure. Because you definitely want to analyze the mindsets of both dads. And you want to think about it, not even in the sense of like you and your own life and your own family,
Right.
but in a sense of like how you perceive things. Am I taking on certain mindsets because of how I grew up? And I'm not taking control over what I can physically, learn, do, and say. So for sure, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is on the list. And if you haven't read it already, you're going to read it now because I promise you it's definitely a kicker, like a kickstart
Oh yeah.
to the mindset game.
Mindset, understanding. One of the biggest things I got from that book was the cash flow quadrant.
Yes.
And we're not going to go into detail about that now. Tune in for another episode.
There will definitely be if you want to know more about it, we can definitely tap into
Okay, so give me some more. Give me some more. I
Right.
know one of the ones that are typically, I'm not going to call it cliche because it's still super impactful on people's lives,
Yeah.
even from the time it's written. Think and
these
Grow
books that
Rich,
we're
but I
saying-
want to
Yeah.
hear some more that you've touched on, that you've picked up and consumed outside of like some of the norms that
Yeah.
people might.
I mean, the norms you're
about.
going to hear because they're fantastic books. So it's not really, I wouldn't even say a cliche, but definitely they're just fantastic books and they're critical to a lot of people's, financial well-being futures and all of that. So definitely good reads regardless. But one of them on my list is You're a Badass, which is very, very good. And
That's a good series.
it's a great series. There's You're a Badass at Making Money, and then Badass Habits. So you can read all of them, but You're a Badass is the first one.
Jen Cicero, I believe.
Yes, and she talks about your ego a lot, which was quite a bit of a mind shift for me because she's a very witty writer, and she kind of takes on that relatability in our lives, like especially for women, I would say mostly, but of course men as well. But that kind of like you battle yourself and you tell yourself like, this is who I am and nobody's really going to change that. That's kind of her writing style, and her mentality was a lot like that until she realized, okay, I got to be a different person because I'm projecting these personality traits onto myself that I don't actually want to have. I want to be somebody else, but I'm telling myself and I'm convincing myself that I'm this person subconsciously. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that has to do with your ego. So she, refers to it as the big snooze, but that was a big book for me when I started wanting to dive a little bit deeper into my mental, because I thought, okay, this has to be something that I have to work on, whether it be like going to therapy or whatever, or just reading the books and trying to analyze myself.
You ever tried therapy?
I have not personally gone to therapy, but I will say that this was a therapy process for me, therapeutic process for me to pick up the books and read them because, and I won't say that I'm like shying away from therapy for myself, but it was just more so of a thing of like, let me see if I can work on myself to my best ability, without spending the extra money on getting a therapist or whatever. But that was really my goal. And then you introduced me to Outwitting the Devil. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
I will.
I'm going to save that one for you. That's on my list. That's on my list for sure. But that you introduced that to me, and that totally took my life to a completely different direction as well. So
yeah, Outwitting the Devil. That one was mind blowing because that's one of those books that I haven't read physically, and I feel like listening to the audio, you get so much more value out of it.
Yeah, you told me to listen to it in the audio version rather than read it, which I'm not sure if. Is there a physical copy out there?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Because I know it's like you can find the clips on YouTube. And then
Napoleon Hill.
And then you can get it on Audible. But
yeah,
go into it a little bit deeper just for everybody if they're interested in finding out what it's about.
So that's a book that I listen to 3 times a year every year since I've picked it up first.
Yeah.
It's a book that it's interesting because it's a conversation between the author and the devil. And he's bound the devil into an interrogation to where he has full control over the devil and gives up his secrets to how he controls life on this plane.
Has to tell him. He has to be 100% honest with him. If he asks him a question, he has to answer it. And expose all of his secrets, basically.
It's secrets based off, and it's not just, I don't want to get too religious in here, but it's not just on a religion standpoint. It's more so on a mental standpoint and how the mind is bound based off of people having lack of purpose, lack of direction, which he calls being a drifter. Different things like something called hypnotic rhythm, which is a way of, you ever notice how like sometimes you end up falling into, you get into a rhythm or get into a certain habit that
like
ends
your
up
subconscious starts moving
in a certain type of way.
You're not even thinking about how to break that habit.
It's almost like driving, when you're driving somewhere that you've been a bunch of times, and you just kind of get in the car, start it up, say, okay, I'm going here. Next thing you know, you disassociate for 20, 30 minutes, and next thing you know, you just pop up and you're just like, oh, I'm already at my destination.
Or even like in that same regard, when you're driving and you know the route, but you're not even going to the destination that you're supposed to be going. You're supposed to be going like, okay, I'm supposed to stop at the bank on this route. But you completely pass the bank because you're like, your mind is just used to driving this rhythm that something throwing you off course is like, oh, I completely forgot I was supposed to be doing that. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
so
much like that.
It goes into details about different things like that, the why behind things of that nature. I just feel like it's an amazing read. I get something out of it, something different out of it each and every time. Like literally each and every time I listen to it.
You said that you listen to it 3 times a year, right?
Mm-hmm. Every year.
Give me a explanation, or give everybody kind of like your purpose behind reading it that often or listening to it that often. What does that supply you?
Okay. And honestly, it's not just this one that I have read over and over again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books on my list that
you read again and again and again.
I read again and again.
You have a purpose behind that, right?
I do. It's one of those things of we're taught in school that books are living and they're always alive. And I believe that's true because every time I listen to it, you're in a different place in life multiple times a year. You're in a different place mentally. You might be started the year just as an employee. Next thing you know, you're getting into entrepreneurship or you're getting into changing a job. Or a major life event happens.
Life happens. People
life
get
happens.
Kids,
Life comes at
married.
you fast. Somebody passes away. Kids, married. All sorts of things can happen. And with that, your mental space is different. So when you look at something, read something, listen to something, you're listening through it or looking at it through a different lens.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time that I've listened to it, I've heard it from a different lens. I've heard it from a different place of what I'm getting out of it, what I'm trying to get out of it, what I need to get out of it.
Right.
And it teaches me something different every time in a different manner.
Yeah.
And not just with that, you have I have books on my list like Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of your favorites.
Yeah.
I know that. That's one of your favorites.
That one I picked up, and honestly, that helped me structure my value system.
Yeah.
Made me take a hard look at what do I value in life. Is it the flash, the fame, the popularity? Is it family? Is it just being comfortable, not comfortable as like where you're at, but just more so just having that security and that safety. That's what I mean by comfortability. Or do I value having a relationship? Do I value being single? Like it changed my value system and really helped me understand and structure it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that helped me grow in a very major way.
And what I like most about the books that we are mentioning on this list is that it's not a how-to. There's no like play-by-plays in these books. There's nobody telling you like, you need to do this, or you should be doing this, or stop what you're doing and do this. None of that is happening in these books. And I think that's what has drawn me to it so much, because it really makes you self-reflect in a different light. Like therapy, like when you sit down and you speak to somebody and they're just helping you work through your own emotions.
That's all it is, too.
It's the same exact way, but in a different, in an outer body experience, in the sense of like, you're kind of like reading the books, analyzing the pages through other people's lenses, because it's typically other people's life stories. And then you're saying, okay, how does this apply to me? Does it apply to me? Should I be applying it to me? Should I be implementing some of these mindset and these relationships in my life? So that's what I think has really, really sparked the mindset shift and the self-help and the planning and the motivation, especially in my life.
Because you know what they say, you are what you eat. And so what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your brain?
And I'm a sucker for like reality TV. I love my Love Islands and I love all of it. I mean, you know, I'm literally an addict for it. But you have to cleanse your mind of that stuff, because it is toxic at the end of the day. It can be very toxic to your life, especially if you feel like you have to take on some of the personalities that you end up seeing on these TV shows. And a lot of that comes with, too, just to bounce off of reading, is meditation.
Yeah. Okay. Meditation.
Yeah. I would say that's another good next step to kind of getting your mindset right and preparing yourself. is meditation.
How do you meditate?
Well,
I feel like
I
there's
am
different
not
ways of going about it.
I am not a holistic. I don't know. I don't even know the title for somebody who helps you meditate, but I am not that. So really, I would say that there's different approaches that I took to figure out the best ways to meditate, and that was obviously searching it up. I've found different like books out there that will help you pay attention to like your chakras, your mindsets, all of that kind of stuff, and creating like the perfect environment. And a lot of it comes down to like the sounds that you're listening to, something steady, something kind of like ocean sounds, or like you'll even hear that that ringing sound, that very like white noise ring sound that just kind of keeps you very stable. Yeah, the frequencies of that. And taking like a good like 5 to 10 minutes of just stillness. And there's different ways, because like I'll do guided meditation. So I'll ask Alexa or whoever, or Siri, whoever I'm talking to, whatever digital device I'm talking to at that time. And I'll say, take me through a guided meditation. And that's the best way, especially if you don't know what you're doing, to get kickstarted into meditation, for me anyway. But I know you're a big meditator, and you've even ventured out a little bit further than me. So what's your best advice on meditation and how you go that way?
It's crazy. Like through that, what you just explained, I just thought about 3 or 4 more books that I've read on it that I forgot that I read.
You're a big reader, avid reader.
I completely forgot I read those. But so for me, I feel like there's different ways of going about it. There's no one size fits all. There's so many multiple ways of going about it, and it's really whatever makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer of thinking for yourself. So sometimes my meditations is just deep thought.
Yeah.
Just deep thought on a subject, and then bouncing off of that until I unlock. I feel like it's like, you ever not know the answer to something? You're trying to think about something all day, not know the answer to something, and then next thing you know, bing.
It just finally pops up. You're like,
downloading it from I don't know where.
Yes.
You just downloaded the information from who knows where. But I feel like that comes, you get more of that, and you get way more clarity.
Yeah.
From sitting in silence and really thinking with yourself.
Clearing
There's
your
so
mind,
much
right.
There's so many things that can mentally clutter, that can clutter us mentally. So many distractions between the cell phone. Mine just went off like crazy.
Yeah.
But got to know how to stay focused, right? Your focus needs more focus. Shout out to HB. But there's so much clutter between the devices, the TV, music, sounds going on outside. I used to live downtown. There was no bit of silence.
Yeah, because
There's
you're
like no way to have any silence.
right in the middle of the city.
So just having a moment where you just take a break, take a step back, sit in silence with yourself. A lot of times, a lot of people are so adverse to silence, or think when someone's being silent, there's something wrong, and you have to fill the room with words. I feel like that's unnecessary, and that clogs the mind a little bit. So taking that time to like just sit in silence. It doesn't have to be eyes closed, listening to the sound bowls or things like that. Sometimes for me, it's just sitting in silence and thinking about something.
Yeah.
Thinking about a topic, thinking about how do I feel about a direction life is going? How do I feel about my life? How do I feel about societal problems? Like just doing that thinking for myself instead of having it poured into you by like scrolling through TikTok or scrolling through social media, but just how do you feel about it without having the outside influence on it?
And I feel like it really breaks that hypnotic rhythm in a sense of you're doing stuff with intention. So like while you're meditating, even though you're letting your body run its course, you're still focusing on certain things. So you might focus on the way the air is blowing, and you might just steadily focus on just that for a certain period of time. You might focus on your breathing. How does it feel to rest here and just feel your chest go up and down? Like, but you're doing it with intention. So you're creating that mental strength to focus on one thing and to really analyze that one thing. And that kind of helped me just in life as well, because in those seconds that you're meditating, you're building that mental strength and that intent. And then you're going to go out into the world and you're going to create that intent through like proper scheduling. I have on here like creating vision boards and stuff like that. Like it might be that cliche that you do the beginning of the top of the year every year, but it's intentional.
It's
you
intentional.
do it to create some sort of guide for yourself, because you don't want to spend an entire year with no direction or goal. So you want to visualize it so that way you can actually actively do it.
Yeah, because it gives direction. It almost gives goals. It gives direction, because you wouldn't get on a plane and say, okay, where's this plane going? Anywhere.
I don't know. Fly me.
Yeah, it's like anywhere.
I mean, it sounds nice when you think about it. You're like, where's this plane going? Somewhere nice. Take me me by the wings.
It's also, we're always heading somewhere.
Yeah.
And you said something pretty key earlier, which was taking control of your life. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but taking control of your life and leading your life instead of letting life just lead you.
Yeah.
And I think the personal development, the fortifying your mind, setting those intentions, making the vision boards, that's how you chart the course.
Yeah.
That's how you say,
100%.
okay, this is where I'm going. And that's why a lot of people like to, well, let me not say a lot of people, but I've heard people kind of shy away from doing things like vision boards. Oh, they too cool for school, too cool for it.
I think that also comes from, it's not an instant, you don't get instant gratification from these sort of things. Like,
no.
It almost hits you when you least expect it. So when you do it consistently enough, you sit back and you realize, oh, this is working. You're like, I didn't even expect this to work. Because you do it the first time and you're like, I don't know how to meditate. I don't know what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing. I'm over here thinking about what to have for breakfast. And they touch on that in You're a Badass as well. She says that she's like, when I first started meditating, I was over here thinking about like my best friend texting me and all this other stuff. It's like you're not focused on the actual form of meditation, but after ritualizing it and becoming very consistent with it, it hit in a different way. Like you start to actually see things so much clearer. So staying consistent with it is hard for a lot of people. We all break habits. We all have a really hard time with consistency. And I think that when you're doing something to like help rejuvenate your mind and become a better person, you have to just keep trying, because you're going to for sure hit a lot of roadblocks like along the way. Even with reading, like sometimes I'm like, I'm sick of reading these self-help books. Like, Jesus, myself ain't helped yet. Like, how many more books I gotta read? But
That's funny.
it's funny because I'm actually kind of currently going through that plight right now. But you definitely have to keep going with it. And
you do.
You have to not like compare yourself to anybody else's journey or situation either. You have to really
that's big.
Be diligent on making sure that your path is yours and no one else's.
Your path is yours. Your plan is yours.
Yeah.
And it's not a sprint. Life is not a sprint.
Yeah.
And we're not in competition with each other. There's enough out here for everybody.
Yeah.
However, it's a thing of go through life at your pace, on your path, on your plan for you. Because once you start looking left, start looking right, that's when the depression starts kicking in. We're in the age of depression based off of being able to scroll and say, oh, my life isn't that good. Oh, I don't have this car yet. Oh, I'm not there yet. This dude, everybody who's 19 years old is a multimillionaire, and I'm almost 30, and like a lot of that goes into the psyche.
-$1 million in my bank account.
That goes into the psyche, like that.
Yeah,
and that hurts. And that hurts like the confidence of being able to move forwards and then take on new things, move towards the path of financial freedom, move towards the path of home ownership.
Yeah,
because you feel like, okay, my life isn't here yet. I can't start. I can't get started.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
We hear that all the time.
Because I'm about to be 30 this year. And I hear all the time, oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be at 30. Who told you were supposed to be there? They had the blueprint to your life. They had the agenda for your life. Okay. Yeah. That goes into back to what we were saying. You control your life. You control your destiny. You control all that. Yeah, 100%. You happen to life. Don't let life
happen to you. Like, and there's no best way to really advise anybody to not compare themselves to others, because you're going to do that. Like, no matter how many times you watch this back and tell yourself, okay, I'm not comparing, you're probably going to compare. Yeah. And it happens to literally the best of us. So the only thing you can do is just not find the best ways to not take it so personal and to protect your peace. And that has to do with, surrounding yourselves around the right types of people, investing in yourself in the ways of reading these books, getting that self-help that you need, and really boosting your self-confidence, whatever that looks like, whether it be dressing yourself up every day, putting on the best makeup and walking outside and getting some fresh air, and you just feel confident. Like, do what makes you feel like the best.
Yeah. And you said it as well as like, in kind of what we're talking about with strengthening your mind with doing the personal development. Yeah. Feed your mind, feed your soul. It's going to help. And it's not just for you. Yeah. It's literally for you, one, but also for those around you. It's for your family. It's for your friends. Because when you're a better version of you, then you can put out more positivity to the world. You can pour what you have into someone else. And almost just the same as mindsets are almost like property value. Because you hear your income's going to be the average of the 5 people you hang around most. Think about a neighborhood. If you have like everybody with nice lawns, adding on to the house, large homes, making upgrades, the property value is going up.
And that positively affects you.
That positively affects you too. Yeah. And so if your mindset is constantly going up, the value of your mindset is going up, the value of yourself as a person is going up, then you're going to bring up the value of those around you.
And your personal value is going up,
Right.
You might be the person that people say, oh, I want that. I want to be around her or him. I want to be around them to get my confidence up. You know what I mean? You might end up being that person. And I also feel like we hear it too with the dating world. It's like, I can't date until I become a better version of myself. It's the same practice. You can't, expect to be extremely successful in business or in life if you haven't worked on yourself.
Right. So you do the work.
And
do the work, put in the effort, strengthen yourself, strengthen your mind.
Take the time to read those books, to do the meditation, to get that self-help, and to really take advantage of the opportunities to better yourself. Like, we're here to tell you, and we hope that it was useful and supported something that you guys want to do for yourselves as well.
Yeah, hopefully you had a lot of takeaways from this and are just better for it.
Yeah. Well, as always, it's Jeanette Johnson with Century 21 Connect Realty.
Isaiah Lyles with Primerica Financial Services. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, share with a friend, take some notes, learn from it, grow with us. Let us know what you're thinking about it as well.
Yeah. And always remember to mind your business.